Good morning, Anthem. Welcome to Eric's first ever YouTube podcast. We're going big time now. We got cameras, we got sound, we got kind of lights, and guess what? A new beautiful co-host, Sawana, who is the executive director with the Anthem Chamber and owner of the Salt Spa Collective.
No.
Say it again.
Salt Spa Wellness Collective.
Yes.
You were so close.
Oh, I was so close. So Sawana is going to co-host with me.
Yep.
Welcome to the show.
I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
I am excited too because when I start dying, guess who's going to pick me up?
Okay, nothing like that was
Yes.
discussed. So.
And guess who's still here? The man behind the board, the Griffmeister. But look at him; he has a mic now, so hopefully we'll get some words out of him. How you doing this morning, Griff?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Did you hit the gym
No.
today? No. That's a big X. Your paycheck's going to get docked. Anyways, we want to welcome you to the show. We are going to talk everything Anthem from, you name it, businesses, sheriff, HOA, ACC, Walmart's new gas station. Anything else good we got? All
Only
kinds
for the
of
After
stuff.
Dark.
Oh, well, we didn't bring that up, but now we are. We might do an After Dark show over at a new place, and we'll tell you about that later. So, but our guest today, welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
From Rocky Mountain Consulting.
Yes.
Did I get that one right?
That's correct. You did.
Yes. Well, welcome to being our first guest on our YouTube channel.
I'm excited. Thanks
Thanks.
for having me.
Thank you for coming on and tell us, what does Rocky Mountain Consulting do?
Yeah. So our business is centered around school safety and security. And what that means is we offer a whole suite of services to schools. We do threat vulnerability assessments, which kind of takes a look at physical, operational, and procedural security. We write emergency operations plans for schools. We do family reunification planning, staff training, drilling, etc. So kind of the whole gamut.
Wow. Just in Arizona?
We've been in several other states, but primarily in Arizona. Yes,
Those schools need to be safe for our kids.
absolutely.
Yeah. What? Get closer to the mic. Griff, you can just say whatever you want because you're on camera now. They can see you.
Get closer.
It's a safe space, Griff. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
How are schools doing with your planning? Like when they call you, does a district usually call you or the school call you, or how does that work?
Both. So yeah, I work for both public districts, large and small. And then as you know, Arizona is a birthplace for school of choice. So we have a lot of single LEA, single building charter schools as well. So I work with a wide range of schools. But yeah, superintendents call, principals call. That's usually how we get connected.
Got it. And actually, after something happens, do they call like normal in America or most people's houses, or they wait till something happens and they say, oh, wait, we might need to evaluate this?
Yeah, so we've been lucky in Arizona where we haven't had a school shooting in the state of Arizona. But as you know, school safety is much broader than school shootings. And so usually we get called because folks are worried about compliance. They want to make sure they're compliant with state laws. But also we've got a whole range of leaders who just want to make sure they're doing the best they can for their students.
And that's the most important.
Absolutely.
You were a school administrator for a really long time. What kind of segued this path for you?
Yeah, so the first part of my career was spent in post-secondary institutions, so colleges and universities. I did university housing, Greek life, conduct. I sat on a lot of behavioral threat assessment teams, a lot of coalitions with city police. And so that experience, so when I transitioned into K-12 was really valuable. And I think that's something that is missing, unfortunately. When we go to school and we get our master's in educational leadership, there is no course, not even an hour in a course on emergency preparedness, emergency planning. And then you are given the keys to your castle as a principal, and your board, your governing board says, go, plan, make sure that this school is safe. And principals just don't know where to start. And they wear so many other hats and are so busy that there's a lot of good intentions. It's on the to-do list. And then before you know it, you turn around, it's June and you're looking at the next year, you know? And so I think that was my segue after having been a middle school, high school principal and, you know, been at colleges and universities, moving into this was to help colleagues who just didn't know where to start and didn't have time, frankly, to do the research and to really dive deep and get into evidence-based practices.
Yeah. So we're community members, right? We're all
Absolutely
members here. We care about our community. How can community members help in this emergency preparedness for our local schools?
Yeah, so we all know that schools are the heart of a community. And so when we've got safe schools, we've got safe communities. And I think there's a lot of things that community members need to pay attention to. Even if you don't have kids in school, it's important to pay attention to legislation. We just had, House Bill 2074 signed into law by Governor Hobbs on May 6th, which really solidified some things with regards to school safety in Arizona laws. So, you have to have a governing board review at this point. Charter schools now legally have to have an emergency operations plan. Prior to this year, they didn't. A lot did because they knew they needed it. But now it's in law. There's got to be planning for access and functional needs students. So that's where we see a lot of our students, about 15% of students, have some sort of disability or access or functional need. And they were being left out of emergency operations planning, sometimes exempt completely from drills because it, didn't fit into their daily routine. And so that planning is now required by law. But there's also what I think is more tricky legislation right now in the Senate Rules Committee, House Bill 2022, is talking about how, we can fund armed teachers in our schools in the state of Arizona. And I think it's really important for community members to stay on top of this legislation and talk to their representatives because, again, there is no evidence that arming teachers will make schools safer. Quite the opposite, actually.
And you said this is a 1%.
Absolutely. So I think post Parkland, which happened in 2018, school safety became known as active shooters. But there are so many other things that happen on a daily basis that happen with so much more frequency, right? If you look at allergies, 1 in 3 students come into kindergarten with an anaphylactic allergy. 25% of those kids will have their first, anaphylactic reaction at school. And we have so many of our schools that don't have a school nurse or a health aide. So are we training our teachers to deal with that?
Yeah.
We've got custody disputes in our front office, and most typically, when we are talking about school shootings, we're talking about fights that escalate, right? Kids who are carrying weapons, the fights escalate, and that's how it happens. We're not talking about deliberate or planned school attacks. And so there's just, cyberbullying and swatting threats. And so there's so much more that goes into school safety that we need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even extreme heat in Arizona. We've got to have a plan for that, right?
Exactly. And then there's also the mental health aspect of it. Yeah. What role do you feel like that plays?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that what folks don't understand is this. When there is an incident at schools, parents are outraged. They want to see something done. And so administrators feel pressured to put something in place that's visible. And so that's where you see millions of dollars being spent on what we call security theater, on aftermarket access control. How can we barricade this door, or window film, or what we call hardening the target. It's all based on physical security, right? Metal detectors. When in reality, our cheapest solution to get what we call left of bang, right, is prevention. And I think that we're in trouble because we had a lot of COVID relief funds or ESSER funds that came through, and many administrators used those funds to hire social workers and counselors. And all those funds are gone now. And so if they didn't plan to sustain those positions, we are now losing the people who are critically important to our students to taking a look at where we can identify that leakage, who needs help, who's in crisis. And so I think we're a little bit in trouble there. But that's where I do think that we can make the most difference is through prevention, is through culture and trusted adults, right? So information is our greatest tool when it comes to school violence. If you know that you can go talk to your history teacher and there's going to be no repercussion and you can tell that person anything and you trust that person, then you're going to go to that person and say, look what I just saw on social media, or Billy's been talking about school violence and I'm scared. That's how we find out, and that's how we prevent these things from happening. So if you don't have that culture in your school, if you aren't asking students, if you don't have an anonymous, reporting line where people can give you this information, then that's where we're going to get in big trouble.
If you see something, say something.
Absolutely. And do something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Feel empowered to do so.
Exactly. And our teachers need to feel empowered. Our students need to feel empowered, need to, what I call, have agency, because this shouldn't be about fear. This needs to be about competence. And you can only have confidence by gaining competence. And that's by practicing, by drilling, by being prepared.
Do you feel like schools really are open to working with these types of services, or are you getting a lot of pushback, or is it kind of both?
I think it's dependent on the administrator. And I think that that's what people really need to understand is there's so much entropy in education right now. There's so much turnover that we are losing good administrators every day. And this is the kind of stuff that gets lost in the shuffle when you turn over administrators and teachers. And so when you have an administrator who says, I need help with this because I'm too busy or I'm not really that educated on this, that's great. I love those type of administrators. And then I also run into administrators who say, I've got this. I'm going to shield my students. I'm going to be the first one there. And in reality, you're just going to be the first one in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I run into both. But we have a lot of great leaders out there. There's just a lot of turnover in education right now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Why do you feel like that is?
Oh,
We could go off on a tangent about this.
let's do an after dark
Let's do
podcast about that. Yeah.
I can't think of the number. That's probably one of the top reasons is teacher pay.
Oh,
We see
absolutely.
Our teachers coming out of college with massive amounts, and obviously doing mortgages. We see it every day. Debt. They're coming out with the same amount of lawyers and doctors, but they're going to make less than $60,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
And the lawyers and doctors are coming out 150, 100, 200.
Yep.
So money is a big factor.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers I know that are quitting are money. The parents, a lot of them, I hate to say it, but parents run a lot of great teachers out, most teachers, because they love the kids. The kids are usually awesome.
Yeah, it's
But it's
never
parents.
typically the kids. Yeah, it's
No.
never typically the kids. And I think we also in education pass off opportunity for our high performers. It's an opportunity to be put on this committee or have to do this. We're asking them to do more with less when in reality, we're not compensating them for that. So if you're good at your job, then here you go. Here's a whole nother 15 responsibilities for you. And you're still going to make $48,000 a year. Yeah. Yeah.
Burnout.
And burnout. Yeah. And I think the teachers realize that their skill set is so broad that they can go do other things and get paid much better. And so we really need to take a look at that. Yeah. Absolutely.
What you got?
I don't know what else I got. Thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was Griffin growing up. Everyone's like, oh, how's the schools in Anthem? And I'm like, it's not really about the school. It's about the teacher for me. I'm like, I always wanted a relationship with the teacher. And so I knew and trusted them. And you do your homework 6 months before your kids go into the next year and request a teacher. And so I always felt great. He went to Anthem and then Boulder Creek, and we had a great relationship with the schools and the principals because mainly we were involved as parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important. I think where we fail as a state, I love school choice. I believe in it. But I think where we fail is that your student can go to a new school on Monday, another one on Wednesday, another one on Friday, if you can get the paperwork transferred that quickly. And a lot of times we see our students who are in crisis, which sometimes shows up in the discipline process, and they know before we get expelled, I'm just going to change schools. And what we do a really poor job of in this state, from my opinion, is transferring those records. So that new school is starting all over again, not knowing that they may be getting a student who's in crisis. And so I think we really need to take a look at that system and make sure that, our students are being served well by any school that they go to, and that they're not just starting all over again in terms of services and assessment and that sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think that Anthem's got some amazing schools, and we have a great choice of schools here in this community. I think our teachers and our leaders do a great job. So yeah, it's a great place to be if you've got kids, for sure.
And a broad range of district, charter, and private all up here.
Absolutely.
So there's options.
Some great choices, which is, the whole point of school choice, right, is to find what niche that you think your kids will do best in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we as parents have seen that and talked about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for watching, anybody. We'll put all your information, if you want to get a hold of Wendy, we'll put your information, if you're watching on YouTube, on the screen.
Absolutely. I've got some great resources for parents on my website. So if you don't know how to talk to your kid about this, or if you're worried that you're going to do it incorrectly because you've got a kindergartner, I've got age-appropriate resources on my website as well for parents to have these conversations, because we want to make parents our partners.
What's your website?
It's RockyMountainConsulting.com.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Really easy. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and we will see you around. And don't forget, if you're a business in Anthem, join the chamber.
Join the chamber.
What are the benefits of the chamber?
There's so many benefits of the chamber. First of all, Wendy is also a board member of the chamber. She's our current vice president. She'll be our president next year.
Big dog president.
Dog, that's right.
Maybe we'll let you in the Anthem 7. Oh, wait.
Ooh.
So-
Talk about that. What is
Sorry. Can I talk about it after dark
Anthem
sometime?
8. Yeah, exactly.
Anthem 8.
There you go.
9. You got to include me too.
There you go.
Does it include drinks?
Always. Always.
Perfect.
We're
Benefits of the chamber. Let's see. So obviously, you're going to build a network of people that you can collaborate with on your business that may have similar industries, but also differing industries. I like that the most, right? I like working nice in the sandbox with your competitors because they may have something that you don't have, or it's just a really good way to do that. Other than traditional networking groups are great, but there's only one person per industry. So I would say that's unique to a chamber, right? We have morning meetings where we bring in different speakers on different topics, like business to business type of topics that are beneficial to you, like small business accounting. If you're going to DIY your marketing, how to do that, all of those kinds of things. And then business after hours, get together, get at a local business every month.
So many benefits.
So many
I think the biggest benefit is knowing people like Wendy.
Yes.
And you.
Yes.
Meeting, because I don't think we would have ever met if
Yeah.
Chamber wasn't here.
Connector.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about networking. And I will say that this Chamber of Commerce, it feels like a family. It truly does. It's that family feel, and versus some others that we've seen that are just so large. So that's the beauty of this is we live and work together, and we patronize each other's businesses.
Genuinely care about each other.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's great when you need a service. Oh, I know somebody. You know somebody like that. Trusted individual in your hometown. And typically they work harder and better because they don't want to screw it up, because nothing will ruin your reputation faster than screwing up.
And
Or not being honest in a small town.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Maybe that should be our theme song, Jason Aldean, Small Town. But there was a lot of controversy with that song.
Griffin says no with his face. He's like, we're
Griffin
going
says no to everything. He's like, he always says no. What song would you suggest, Griff?
I don't know. This is your guys' stuff. You pick it, but I just
That's a no for him.
That's a no.
That's a no for him.
Well, we are kind of country out here a little bit. I mean, we're right next to Desert Hills and New Reg. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, go have a great week. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Wendy.
Okay.